There are three things you need to know about the week Melania Trump called for Jimmy Kimmel's firing. Trump called for Jimmy Kimmel's firing. A gunman opened fire at a public event, and Jimmy Kimmel came back Monday night and said the one thing neither of them anticipated. The first thing is the joke. The second thing is the statement. The third thing is what Kimmel did with both of them on live television on April 28th. 4 days after the joke, 19 days before his final broadcast, with the geometry of the complete Trump-Kimmel relationship assembled on his desk and a room of 400 people waiting to find out whether he was going to apologize, deflect, or say the thing that the previous 3 years had been building toward. He did not apologize. He did not deflect. He said the thing. Rewind to April 24th. The alternative White House Correspondents' Dinner, the event Kimmel had hosted, the room full of journalists and entertainers, the specific occasion of a comedy performance at which jokes about public figures in public life have been a protected tradition for 97 consecutive years. Kimmel, at the microphone, looked at Melania Trump in the room and said, "Our Lady. Look, Melania, so beautiful. She has a glow like an expectant widow." The room laughed. The broadcast aired, the clip circulated, and then, 48 hours later, at a separate public event, a gunman opened fire. Nobody was seriously hurt. But the proximity, a joke about an expectant widow, followed 2 days later by a shooting incident, produced the specific, volatile combination of a regrettable timing accident and a political pressure opportunity, and the Trump administration recognized both simultaneously. Trump posted on April 27th. He demanded ABC fire Kimmel immediately. He said it in the caps register, in the language of a man who has been waiting for an occasion and has found one. He said, "This should be the last straw for ABC and Jimmy Kimmel." He said, "Fire him now." Melania posted on April 27th, not a Truth Social post, a full written statement formally distributed on White House letterhead. She said, "People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate." She said, "A coward. Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him." She said, "Enough is enough." She said, "It is time for ABC to take a stand." How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? It was a formal, prepared, distributed written statement, not a social media post, not a comment to a reporter, a document on White House letterhead calling for the cancellation of a television host's program. The third such document in the documented history of the Trump administration's engagement with late-night television, following the Sinclair demand list of September 2025 and the Don Jr. cease and desist of April 27th. All three arrived in the same news cycle. Kimmel addressed it Monday night with the specific quality of a man who has been given, in a single week, the most complete available documentation of everything he had been saying for 3 years, and who has decided that the documentation does not require commentary, only sequencing. He said, "I want to start tonight by saying," the first line, clean, before the monologue infrastructure had assembled itself around it. He said, "I want to start tonight by saying that I am sorry for any pain my joke caused anyone who was genuinely frightened on Saturday." He said it in the register of a man who means it, flat, direct, without the comedic buffer that would have made it safer or smaller. He said, "The timing was terrible." He said, "I own that." He said, "And now I want to talk about the response to the timing." He said it the way a man says the thing he came to say, after saying the thing he needed to say first. He picked up the first document. He said, "The President of the United States posted today that ABC should fire me immediately." He said, "This is the 14th time he has publicly called for my firing since January 2025. He said it the way he says numbers that are doing the entire argument on their own. He said 14 times. He said, "I'm going to let that number sit here for a second." He said it, and he let it sit. 4 seconds. The room received the geometry of 14 formal presidential calls for the cancellation of a comedian across 16 months. He said, Melania Trump also posted today. He held up the second document. He said, a prepared statement. He said, on White House letterhead. He said, calling for ABC to take a stand against me. He said it without vocal emphasis, the voice of a man reading a fact that is doing its own work. He said, I want to be very clear about what White House letterhead is. He said, it is official government stationery. He said, a statement issued on it is an official communication from the Office of the First Lady of the United States. He said, the Office of the First Lady of the United States has now formally called for the cancellation of a late-night comedy program. He set the document on the desk. He walked to the front, the full walk, past the camera camera mark to the stage edge, the position closest to the room that the stage permits. He stood there. He said, "I want to say something about Melania Trump's statement." He said it in the slow, specific register of a man who has been thinking about this sentence since 4 p.m. and is now saying it at 11:42 p.m. with everything he learned between those two times still in it. He said on April 9th, 18 days ago, Melania Trump appeared on live television and made a statement about Jeffrey Epstein. He said she addressed the lies linking her to the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein. He said she acknowledged an email she had sent to Ghislaine Maxwell. He said she had no knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes. He said, and Donald Trump told reporters the same day that he had no idea she was going to do that. He said his own press secretary confirmed he had not been briefed on the statement in advance. He walked back toward the desk, not all the way, the midpoint position. He said, so the geometry of this week is as follows. He said, 18 days ago, the First Lady made a live televised statement about the Epstein files without telling the President of the United States that she was going to do it. He said, and this week the same First Lady has issued a formal written statement on White House letterhead calling for my cancellation. He said, I want to note the sequence. He said, Epstein's statement, done without the President's knowledge. He said, call for my firing, coordinated with the President, posted on the same day, on the same subject, with the same target. He said she had no advance knowledge of the Epstein files. He said she had complete advance knowledge of the call for my firing. He said those are the two things Melania Trump has done publicly in April. He said one of them she did without telling Donald Trump. He said the other one she coordinated with him directly. He said, I'll let you draw your own conclusions about which of those two subjects she considers more important to manage. The room went to the specific place. Not laughter, not the recognition sound, the sustained low frequency of a room that has received a sequence of facts and is doing arithmetic. He waited for it. Then he said, she must really, really hate me. He said it with the flat delivery of a punchline that is also a genuine finding. The room broke. The laugh of people who have been doing arithmetic and have just had the punchline confirm the answer they arrived at. He waited. He said, or, and I want to be fair, she must really, really hate him more. The room broke again, longer. He waited for all of it. He walked back to the desk. He sat down. He spread wide. He looked at the camera. He said 14 times. He said it quietly, in the register of a final number being placed in the final position of an argument that has been building for 3 years. He said, he has called for my firing 14 times. He said, I have been called a coward by the First Lady on White House letterhead. He said, Don Jr. has sent me a cease and desist. He said, the FCC chair has written to my network. He said, Sinclair Broadcasting has submitted a demand list. He said, the ABC settlement with the Trump administration was for $16 million. He said, my show ends in 19 days. He looked at the room. He said, and I'm still here. He said, which means, he looked at the camera one more time, the eye contact of a man saying the last thing, the thing the 3 years have been scaffolding toward, which means that 14 times, and White House letterhead, and a cease and desist, and an FCC letter, and $16 million have all produced the same result. He said, I'm still here. He said it once, in the flat, forensic register of a fact. He moved to the next segment. Trump posted 6 times before the broadcast ended. He called the monologue disgusting, dishonest, and the work of a man hiding behind a network. He said Melania's statement was accurate and appropriate. He said Kimmel was finished. Each post arrived beside I'm still here in every thread that ran them together. The ratio of posts to fact was 6-1, and the one was already in the broadcast record, time-stamped, sourced, and delivered from a desk by a man 19 days from his final episode who had just said the most complete version of the thing he had been saying since January 2025. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building, and once you see what's coming, you'll understand why silence is always louder than power.